أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء وخاتم المرسلين سيدنا ونبينا بالقاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين واللعنة الدائمة الباقية على أعدائهم من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الكريم: وجعلنا منهم أئمة يهدون بأمرنا لما صبروا وكانوا بآياتنا يوقنون. صلوات. One of the most remarkable thing about the life of our ninth Imam, Imam Muhammad at-Taqi al-Jawad alayhi salatu wassalam, is actually the beginning of his Imamate. He became Imam at the age of 7 or 8, and his Imamate continued for about 17 years. His wafat happens when he was just 25 years old. The beginning of his Imamate was a very unusual situation in the Shia history, because none of the Imams prior to him, their Imamate had not started at that young age. The youngest before him would be the 7th Imam, who was about 17 or 18 years old. But that still, is kind of acceptable age. But when you hear about this concept of a person becoming Imam at the age of 7, and that is where you see there was a confusion among the Shias at that time. After the Shahadat of the 8th Imam, there was a group who actually had separated from the main group. And this is a small group known as Waqifa, who considered the 7th Imam to be the Mahdi. And so they did not even believe in Imam Raza alayhi salam. So of course Imam Muhammad at-Taqi also would not be part of their belief system. But that was a small group which gradually vanished. Vast majority, of course, after Imam Raza alayhi salam, followed Imam Muhammad at-Taqi. But there was a small group who actually started believing in one of the sons of Imam Musa al-Kazim as their Imam. And the confusion was more about this issue of people not reconciling the concept of Imamate with the young age. They couldn't put these two things together. We, of course, we know that when you study the history of religions from the Quranic point of view, this shouldn't have been a surprise. You look at the example of Isa ibn Maryam. He was less than a week old when Maryam alayhi salam brought him to the community back after his miraculous birth. And this is not a history, this is not hadith, this is Quran itself. That when the people actually confronted her and said, how could this happen? You come from a very religious, pious family. You're not, married and you have a child. And that is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had asked her to maintain, what is known as the fasting of speech, which is more difficult than the fast of food and drink. And so she indicated towards the baby. And according to the words of the Quran, these member of her community, they said, كيف نكلم من كان في المهد صبيا? How can we talk to a child who is in the cradle? And right at that time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave power to Isa, who is just less than a week old, to speak. قال إني عبد الله. He spoke. Maryam didn't say anything. إني عبد الله, I am the servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not only that he was able to speak, he was actually letting them know that a time will come, and this is the sign of ilm ghaib. A time will come when you will say, I am Ibnullah. I declare from day one, I am Abdullah. I am not the son of God, I am the servant of God. Atani al-kitab, he has given me knowledge. Waja'alani nabiyya, and he has made me a nabi. So if you can accept this concept of, leadership based on divine designation, If Isa can become a Nabi when he is a week old, it shouldn't be a problem to believe in the Imamate of somebody who is 7 or 8 years old. And however, majority of course accepted this, but there were still questions in the minds of the people. As long as belief is there, questioning is not a problem. As Ibrahim alayhi salam said to Allah, yes, I believe you will do resurrection. But لِيَطْمَعِنَّ قَلْبِي, I want to see, because this is a very amazing thing. Things, just vanish, they turn into dust, and you are saying you will bring them back to life, and Allah demonstrated for him, actually gave him the power to do that. And so, to believe is important. Question you can do, but you cannot say, until I'm not يَطْمَعِنُّ قَلْبِي, I'm not going to believe. That's where the problem will start. And so there were many Shias who had this question, and the ulama among them, and some of the leaders from Baghdad and other places, they got together, decided to go for Hajj, which was just after a month, just close to that. And for them, that Hajj, or the year after that, became a very important Hajj. It was not only Hajj, but it was an issue of going and seeing the Imam. Those days, there were no communications, and a Hajj would become an opportunity, especially 3 days in Mina. After doing the rituals, this is where they would spend the time with the Imam of their own time. And so, before going to Hajj, they went to Medina, and there was an assembly place where the Shias would go and meet in the house of Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam. Which was no more a place of residence for his descendants, it was more a place of gathering. And so when they went there, about 80 of them, Abdullah bin Musa bin Ja'far. Abdullah is the brother of Imam Rida alayhi salam. So the uncle of Imam Imam Muhammad at-Taqi. He came in first in that gathering, took his place at the central, position there at the head of the gathering. And somebody said, this is Ibn Rasulullah. Ask him whatever you want to ask. So in a way, he was portraying himself as the successor of his brother Imam Rida alayhi salam. And so people started asking questions. But these were ulama. Those who had gathered there, they were learned from the previous Imams. They knew what is the Shia fiqh, what is the Shia aqidah. And they realized many of the responses he was given was not really the true Shi'i point of view. And so they were disappointed. They started to, get ready to leave. At that moment, let me just share with you one question somebody asked Abdullah bin Musa. He said, what do you have to say about a man who divorces his wife equal to the number of the stars in the sky? You hear this about triple talaq in India. India has criminalized it. And so this fellow is saying, if somebody gives the talaq to his wife saying, I am giving you talaq, as many numbers as stars are there in the sky. And the answer of Abdullah bin Musa is that, she will be separated from him according to the numbers of three stars. And this will be basically 3 divorces, and they will be separated forever. They can't even get married ever again. And they knew this is not the Shi'i perspective about talaq. So once they were getting ready to actually leave, Muwaffaq, who was the servant of the family, opened the door from inside, and he announced that here comes Abu Ja'far Muhammad at-Taqi alayhi salatu wasalam. And they saw this young, boy with 2 robes and an amama. He came and sat down. And even the old uncle now turned around facing the boy. 8 years old nephew of his. And Imam, welcomed them and he said, if you have any questions. They started to ask him similar question that they had asked his uncle. The second question about divorce was very interesting. And Imam said to the questioner, haven't you read Surah At-Talaq? Don't you know that, even if somebody says, 10,000 times, according to the number of the stars or whatever, do not you read this ayat in Surah Talaq that you have to take witnesses at that time? And when he said yes, this is where Imam says that there can be no talaq without the conditions. And the conditions are there should be two just witnesses, very clear intention, there should be the purity of the lady during the cycle, and couple of all other questions that we know very famous in our fiqh. We talked about it, Surah Talaq, about 2 years ago in the month of Ramadan. And so then Imam turned to his uncle and he said, do you know the number of stars in the Quran or in the sky? And he says, no. And this is where Imam said something very powerful to his own uncle. La ilaha illallah ya am. O my uncle, La ilaha illallah, innahu azimun inda Allahi an taqifa ghadan bayna yadayhi fayaqulu laku. Imam says it will be a very serious matter in the eyes of Allah on the day of Qiyamah when you stand up in front of Him and He will ask you, Lima tufti ibadi bima lam ta'lam. Why were you giving fatwa to people for things that you didn't know? وَفِي الْأُمَّةِ مَنْ هُوَ أَعْلَمُ مِنْكَ. While there was in the Ummah somebody more learned than you. This is not only for those days, it's also for our time. Everybody thinks they can read, go into internet and become mullah or Google. They can form their own opinions. They say, oh, this old man sitting in Najaf, what does he know? Baba, he is the alam. He knows. You are not gone even through the primary level of Islamic studies. And this is where we have to realize, you don't form opinions about Islamic issues, especially in fiqh, unless you have that ability and, the training to do that. Salawat. And this is where we come to realize that, when it comes to the imams and the guides appointed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, age is not really an issue at all. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala trains them, gives them the ability, the knowledge, and the wisdom. They don't go through this level of, elementary level of education, and then secondary, then college, then graduation, then master's, and then PhD, and even then you have to go for training, internship, and this and that. No. According to one of the Urdu poets, he describes it very beautifully, where he says that when the Imam becomes an Imam, it's not like the moon. We have to look for the crescent tonight, decide whether tomorrow is first or not. Then the next night you will see it's a little bit bigger. The third night until 14th night it will be full moon. It goes through that gradual process. So an Imam becomes an Imam not like the moon. It is like the sun. Whenever the sun comes up, it is always powerful and it is always complete. Salawat padne ke baad. One of the legacies of the Imam for us even now is this network of Wakala. Because if you see the Imam, especially after the 9th Imam, to the time of Ghaibat Sughra, the Imams are mostly in Baghdad or in Samarra. And this is where, this was because of the pressure of the government. They wanted them to be close by so they can monitor their activities, know who are their friends. And so the access to the Imam was becoming more and more difficult. So from 9th Imam onwards, you will see that it was actually the Imam who extended and established this network of Wakala, the representatives and agents in different parts of the Shia world at that time. So they became the intermediary between the people and the Imams regarding their questions, even regarding the religious dues, where khums and other things. And they were actually trained by the Imam. Last month when I was here, I talked about this whole system where especially the fifth Imam onwards, their companions were of two types. Majority were just simple companions of the Imams. But there was always, among them some whom we can consider to be the ulama of the time. They were trained by the Imams. An ordinary person will come to the Imam asking about something, and Imam will say, it is allowed or it's not allowed. Baat khatam ho gayi. But those who are very close, whom Imam wanted to train so that they will go and guide the community further, these were the people where Imam even would explain to them. And they will also have follow-up questions. What is the dalil for this? How did you say this? Not because they didn't believe in him, but this was a process of learning and teaching. And this is where you see that from fifth Imam onwards, there were many, many examples of the people who would go to the Imam and they would say, we don't live in Medina, we live far away. There are issues which come up, we don't have access to you. What do we do for our religious matters? And the Imams of the time, depending which Imam is there, they would say, well, you come from Ahwaz. Why don't you go to so and so? He is the student of my father, and he has learned from us about halal and haram from us. Or from Kufa, or from Qom, or from other places. And this is where we see that this process of training especially was important for the Wakala. And during the time of the ninth Imam also, I'll just give you a couple of examples of the level of trust that the Imam Ma'soom had on his own Wakala. And these are the Wakala who are learned in their own right. One is Ali bin Mahyar al-Ahwazi, who actually lived even till the time of Ghaibat Sughra. And he was an Arab from Ahwaz area, southern part of Iran now. This is all the Arab area. He was originally a Christian. Later on he converted to the Islamic faith, became a Shia. And he became so close to the Imam that actually Imam appointed him as a wakil. And he was an alim in his own right. In his biography we see that he had written 30 books. Now, of course, when we talk about books in that context, we are talking about, I would say, 30 extended essays on various topics of religion. And once Imam actually, in the correspondence that he had with Ali bin Mahziyar, look at the way he's addressing him. After writing Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim and the greetings and things like that, he says, Ya Ali, Ahsan Allahu Jazak. May Allah make your reward better. Wa askanaka jannatuhu. And may He, place you in His Jannah and garden. Wa mana'aka min al-khizy fi dunya wal akhirah. And may Allah protect you from disgrace in this dunya and the akhirah. Wa hasharaka ma'ana. And may Allah raise you on the day of Qiyamah with us. يا علي قد بلوتك وخبرتك في النصيحة والطاعة والخدمة والتوقير والقيام بما يجب عليك. O Ali, I have tested you, put you into different situations to see what is the level of your sincerity, your obedience to me, your service to me, your respect towards me, and the fulfillment of what is wajib on you. فلو قلت إني لم أرى مثلك لرجوت أن أكون صادقا. Then he says that if I say about you that I don't know anyone like you, then I wouldn't be, I would be رجوت أن أكون صادقا. I wish I will be true in this statement. فَجَزَاكَ اللَّهُ جَنَّاتَ الْفِرْدَوْسِ نُزُلًا. May Allah give you the reward of being in the Jannah. وَمَا خَفِيَ عَلَيَّ مَقَامَكَ. Your position is not hidden from me. وَلَا خِدْمَتَكَ فِي الْحَرِّ وَالْبَرْدِ وَاللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ. And your service towards me and my community during the heat and the cold, means different situations where difficulty and ease. وَاللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ. You didn't even care about the timing. Whenever you were required for the service of our madhab and deen, you were there. فَأَسْأَلَ اللَّهِ إِذَا جَمَعَ الْخَلَائِقِ لِلْقِيَامَةِ. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He will gather the people on the day of Qiyamah, that He should shower His rahmat on you at a level that people will be envious of you. فَإِنَّهُ سَمِيعُ الدُّعَاء. Salawat pranay para. Another example is from Ibrahim bin Muhammad al-Hamdani. He wrote to the Imam a letter with some money that he sent to him and the accounts of the wujuhat, religious dues. And he also complained about the challenges he's finding facing from other Shias. Sometimes human beings, they have their own issues. He's the wakil of the Imam. Well, I know the Imam more than him. So that used to happen that time, even abhi bhi hota rehta hai. And so Imam wrote to him in response to his letter, وَقَدْ وَصَلَ الْحِسَابِ تَقَبَّلَ اللَّهُ مِنْكَ وَرَضِيَ عَنْهُمْ. I got the accounts from you and the money. May Allah accept it from you and be pleased with those who had given them. وَجَعَلْنَا مَعَهُمْ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. May He place everyone among them with us in this dunya and the akhirah. And you have sent me, because of the time I'll leave the Arabic on the side, and you have sent me some dinar and some clothing. May Allah give barakat to you and all those who have sent these gifts. أَنْعَمَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْكَ. And then you have written to me about so and so, and I have already sent a message to him to stay away from you, not bother you, and not to oppose you. And I told him what is your position in my views, and I wrote to him similarly to somebody else with whom also this person had a problem. And he said, I wrote to my Shias in Hamadan asking them to obey you, and whenever there are issues they should go to you. وَأَنَّ لَا وَكِيلَ سِوَاكَ. In that region there is no wakil of mine other than you. So this whole business, these days we say, I only do the taqleed of the Imam. Ma'soom. I don't want to do taqleed of the Ghair Ma'soom. See this. Ma'soom is present. There is a way of communicating with him. Still he is saying to the people there that I have my wakil there. أَمَرْتُهُمْ بِطَاعَتِكَ. They should obey you. وَالْمَسِيرِ إِلَىٰ أَمْرِكَ. And follow according to your command. And this is where we have to realize that this is the system being established so that the community will not be in a confusion after the ghaibat starts. Salawat pranay para. The third example before I conclude the majlis is Khairan al-Khadim. He actually probably was from the Iraq and Syrian area. And he wrote to the Imam that I'm sending to you 8 dirhams, which have been given to me from Tartus, which is a place in Syria. Some of the dirhams had been kind of damaged, means even the writing on it were vanishing now, and I hesitated to return them back give them back to the person, because the coins were not that good, in good condition. And so I basically hesitated to give it back to him, and I accepted it. but I'm waiting for your instructions. What should I do in such kind of situation? Do you allow me to accept this kind of gifts from them or not? So that I may know, inshallah, and follow your instructions. Imam wrote to him, أقبل منهم إذا أهدي إليك دراهم أو غيرها. Whatever my Shias give it to you, whether it is perfect or imperfect, in form of hadiyah, accept it. فإن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم because when it came to hadiyah, Rasulullah did not even reject the hadiyah from a Yehudi or a Nasrani, from a Jewish or a Christian person. And so this is where, just to give you an idea of, the system of network of Wakala which existed during the time of the 9th Imam. And this is what was continued by the 10th Imam and 11th Imam. And even in Ghaibat al-Sughra, 70 years, the first of the 4 special representatives of the Imam of the time in Ghaibat al-Sughra was actually first the Wakil of the 9th Imam. And he continued to be the Wakil of the 10th Imam and 11th Imam, and then he becomes the Safir Awwal, specially appointed Wakil of the Imam during the Ghaibat al-Sughra. And this is where you see that the system had been established from long before the Ghaibat started. As far as the level of the knowledge is concerned, you have to realize that his Imamate started when he was 7 or 8 years old. And then Imam Rashid asked his governor to actually send the son of Imam Rida alayhi salam to Baghdad. And this is where Imam ends up there. So this would have been probably, let's say, 2 to 3 years after that. And so by the time Imam comes into Baghdad, he is in early teens, still very young, not even to the level of bulugh. And in very first meeting, Ma'mun Rashid became so much impressed with this young Imam that he decided to give his daughter in marriage to the Imam. Of course, he had some other political motives also in that marriage and alliance. But there was a lot of opposition to that intent of Ma'mun. The elders of Banu Abbas told him, "What are you doing? We already had a problem with his father. You appointed him as the heir, and somehow we had to get rid of him. Now you are bringing another issue here." And when he insisted that, "No, this is my wish, nothing to do with politics." At that time they said, "But he is very young. As we say, ज़रा पढ़ लिख ले, बड़ा हो जाए, अपने कदम पे कायम हो जाए, फिर देखा जाएगा. He's still very young, let him grow up." And this is where Ma'mun Rashid says, "Okay, I challenge you, bring the best among your scholars, and we'll have a discussion with him. If you are able to defeat him, I'll postpone my intention. But if he defeats your best scholar, then I'm just going ahead with my proposal." And then, they brought Yahya bin Aksam, who was the Chief Justice of that time, Chief Justice of the Umayyad Khilafat of that time. And the story is long. I'm just, narrating this to reach to a point. The gathering took place, and Imam was sitting on a chair besides Ma'mun. Yahya bin Aksam was there, and he was asked to come up with very difficult question. When we study Islamic laws, there are actually 2 sections which are very difficult, because it's all there in theory. One I'll just not mention here, it's not appropriate. The other one is actually the issue of Hajj. A young student of the Hawza studying the book of Hajj, never been to Hajj. It becomes difficult, to comprehend. But if you go to Hajj once, then you will start remembering everything that you have learned. Before that, you wouldn't even be able to memorize all the sequence and this and that. So Hajj itself, was a difficult section there. And so Yahya bin Aksam selected one question, that if somebody, hunting is forbidden when you are in ihram. And so he brought up this issue. He thought maybe, this young boy wouldn't know this. He says, can you tell me what happened? What is the kafara if a person, hunts during the time when he is in ihram? It was just one question. And I'll just leave the whole story, just the response of the Imam initially. He said, Yahya bin Aksam, you asked me one question, but there are so many different dimensions to it. You should have clarified your answer. Was the ihram for Umrah or Hajj? Was the ihram by somebody who knew the mas'ala or somebody who was ignorant of this ruling? Was this hunting done during the daytime or during the night time? Was this done intentionally or by mistake? Maybe he was just throwing his arrow and he happened to hit an animal. Was the animal, the one who flies or the one who walks on the earth? Was the animal big or small? Was the person who was in ihram was a free person or a slave? And all these different scenarios, which I don't have it here, I'm just trying to remember. He actually brought all different dimensions that even Yahya bin Aksam was not ready to say which part of these, dimensions and possibilities in this question I'm asking you. And this is where, then Imam started to give the answer of each one of them. In this case, this happens. In that case, this happens. And then at the end, Ma'mun said, well, you asked him one question, he gave you the response. Now it's his turn to ask you a question. And Imam asked him a question, and then he was not able to respond to that. And right in that same gathering, Ma'mun said, okay, what I had promised was done. And this is where he proposed the marriage of his daughter to Imam, and Imam recited this famous khutbah, which is recited in the aqd of all of you. You don't remember that anyway. Alhamdulillah iqraran bi ni'matihi wa la ilaha illallah ikhlasan li wahdaniyati. That's the khutbah of Imam Muhammad at-Taqi al-Jawad alayhi salatu wassalam. Salawat. Imam didn't stay in Baghdad after his marriage to the daughter of Ma'mun. He wanted that to happen, but Imam refused. And she went. She was not really happy with her life in Medina. During the time of Ma'mun al-Rashid, Imam was not that much harassed, but during the last year of his life, this is where after Ma'mun al-Rashid died, Mu'taz Billah becomes to power, his brother. And he recalls Imam to come back to Baghdad. And that in that gathering also, at that time also different questions and situations came up. जहाँ एक चोर के सज़ा देने की बात थी और मुख्तलिफ़ उलमा ने मुख्तलिफ़ अपनी राय पेश की कि हाथ काटा जाए तो किस तरह से काटा जाए, पूरा हाथ या एल्बो तक या पूरा यहाँ बाजू तक, और मुख्तलिफ़ राय थी। और मुअत्तज़ बिल्लाह ने इमाम से पूछा, इमाम ने कहा कि भाई तुम्हारे मुफ्तियों ने जवाब दिया है, आई डोंट वांट टू गेट इन्वॉल्व। तो उसने इसरार किया, तो इमाम का जवाब उन तमाम लोगों के जवाब से डिफरेंट था। लोगों ने दलील पूछी और इमाम ने हदीस और कुरान से दलील पेश की, एंड मुअत्तज़ बिल्लाह एग्रीड विद दैट। उस दिन जो है, उस वक्त जो सबसे बड़ा आलिम था, वो उसके दिल में ये बुग़्ज़ और हसद की आग और भड़की और उसने मुअत्तज़ बिल्लाह के कान को भरना शुरू किया कि आप आम मजमे में, जहाँ आपके नौकर चाकर भी हैं और पब्लिक भी बैठी हुई है, आप इस जवान को दूसरे उलमा पर आप प्रेफर करते हैं اس میں خطرہ ہے کہ آپ کی خلافت بھی ایک دن آپ کے ہاتھ سے چھن جائیں گی اور اس کے ہاتھ میں چلی آئے گی. اور اس کی بنیاد پر معتز باللہ کے کان کو بھرنے کے بعد اس میں انتقامی کارروائی کا سلسلہ شروع ہوا، اور امام کو ان کے اجداد کی طرح جس طرح سے ان لوگوں نے، چونکہ واقعات کربلا کے بعد کسی بھی خلیفہ کی ہمت نہیں ہوئی کہ تلوار کا استعمال کرے، اور جس طرح سے امام موسیٰ کاظم علیہ السلام کو، اس کے بعد پھر امام رضا علیہ السلام کو، اسی طرح سے امام محمد تقی کو بھی زہر کے ذریعے یہی ذی القعدہ کے آخری ایام تھے جب دیے گئے تھے. اور اس وقت امام کی ایک بہن بھی ان کے ساتھ تھی، جناب حکیمہ. بس ہم ایک جملہ کہنا چاہیں گے امام علی نقی علیہ السلام کی خدمت میں. آج ہم لوگ پرسے کے لیے جمع ہوئے ہیں کہ مولا یہ بات برحق ہے کہ امام کو زہر دیا گیا تھا. 25 سال کی عمر میں اگر کوئی دنیا سے اٹھ جاتا ہے تو ہر انسان سوال کرتا ہے ذہن میں کہ آخر یہ کیا ہے، یہ کوئی فطری موت نہیں ہے، یہ زہر کے ذریعے ہوا تھا. لیکن پھر بھی بغداد میں جو ظاہری رکھ رکھاؤ تھا خلافت کا، انہوں نے بڑے اہتمام کے ساتھ یہ جنازہ اٹھا ہے. شہر بغداد میں لا کے امام کو دفن، وہاں نماز جنازہ پڑھی گئی. گھر کے اندر بہرحال اپنے 10ویں امام نے امام اعجاز کی بنیاد پر نماز جنازہ پڑھی تھی، لیکن پبلکلی پورا شہر جو ہے بند تھا سوگ کے عنوان سے. جنازہ عزت کے ساتھ اٹھایا گیا اور دوبارہ آپ وہاں آئے جہاں امام موسیٰ کاظم علیہ السلام کو دفن کیا گیا تھا، اور ان کے دادا کے جوار میں امام کو دفن کیا گیا. بس جناب حکیم خاتون کی خدمت میں ایک جملہ ہم کہنا چاہیں گے، اور خصوصاً ہمارے محمد علی نقی علیہ السلام کی خدمت میں، کہ ہمیں ایک اور بہن یاد آتی ہے کہ جو مدینہ میں تھی اور اس کے بھائی کو بھی زہر کے ذریعے شہید کیا گیا تھا. جنازہ بھی اٹھا ہے عزت کے ساتھ، لیکن جب کوشش ہوئی کہ وہ نانا کے پہلو میں اگر دفن کی اجازت نہیں ملتی ہے تو کم سے کم جا کے طواف کر سکیں، لیکن زینب اور ام کلثوم نے اپنے بھائی کے جنازے کی حالت جو دیکھی ہے کہ وہاں آل مروان اپنی تلواروں کے لے کے چلے آئے تھے اور وہاں پر روکنے کی کوشش کی. جب بنو ہاشم کے افراد نے جنازہ امام حسن مجتبیٰ کو آگے بڑھانا چاہا تو آل مروان نے تیروں کی بارش کی. کچھ تیر آ کے اس تابوت پہ پیوست ہو جاتے ہیں. امام حسین علیہ السلام نے جب بنو ہاشم کے جوانوں کے تیور کو دیکھا کہ سب نے اپنی تلوار نکال لی ہے، جہاں کہ انہیں روکتے ہیں اور منع کرتے ہیں، آل مروان سے صرف ایک جملہ کہتے ہیں کہ میرے ہاتھ میرے بھائی کی وصیت کی وجہ سے بند ہیں، ورنہ تلوار کے سہارے ہم بھائی کے جنازے کو نانا کی قبر کے قریب لے جاتے. بس ایک جملہ ہم کہنا چاہیں گے، ایک اور امام ہمیں یاد آتا ہے. حسین کے ہاتھ وصیت سے بند تھے، لیکن عابد بیمار کے ہاتھ میں ہتھکڑیاں تھی جو اپنے بابا کے جنازے کو بے گور و کفر زمین کربلا پر چھوڑ کے چلے. الا لعنت اللہ علی القوم الظالمین سیعلم الذین ظلموا ای منقلب ینقلبون. خداوند اس خلیل بات قبول فرما، ہمارے گناہوں کو بخش دے، ہماری توفیقات میں اضافہ فرما، امام کے ظہور میں تاجل فرما. ربنا تقبل منا انک انت السمیع العلیم.